If you're anything like me, it can be a challenge at times to get started on an important work project. You may procrastinate, get distracted with other stuff to do, which then makes getting started even harder. Over the last 2 years, I've been experimenting with various science-based techniques that are said to improve focus and productivity at work. I've picked the 9 things that have been most effective for me. They're easy to do, and I'm almost certain that some of the things will make an improvement to your focus and productivity too. The position of our screen in relation to our eyes plays a crucial role in our alertness and focus. When we look down, the eyes go into a partially closed position, and the neurons that control our eye movement activate areas of the brain associated with feeling sleepy and calm. And then the opposite is true. When the eyes are up and fully open, the neurons in our eyes activate areas of the brain associated with feeling awake and alert. So by positioning our screens at eye height or slightly higher, it's like we can trick our brains into feeling more alert and awake. If you use a monitor, it's pretty easy to elevate your screen. This technique is a bit trickier when using a laptop because the keyboard is attached. So move your laptop higher using a box, some books or a laptop stand, then use a separate keyboard. It may feel a bit inconvenient having to buy a separate keyboard, but hopefully the improvement that you see in focus and productivity will make it a good investment. My current desk setup, it doesn't quite bring my monitor to eye height, so when I remember, I scroll the part of the document that I'm working on to the top of the screen, which then moves my eyes up, rather than it being at the bottom and me looking down. And the added benefit of moving our screen to eye height is improved head and neck posture, looking straight ahead rather than looking down for many hours a day. It's got to be better for us. Light plays a huge role in our energy and mood, and it's especially important at the start of the day. Bright light coming in through the eyes in the first few hours of waking signals to the brain that it's morning and that we require energy and focus for the day ahead. And with many of us working indoors in front of a computer, we can use artificial light to our advantage. Turn on overhead lights in the first few hours of the day. And the overhead lights has got something to do with our eyes having receptors down here that detects light coming in from above. Using a bright lamp or ring light on your desk is also another great way to increase the amount of light in your eyes. I've got this daylight lamp that I did an experiment with last year, and I use it on my desk for a few hours at the start of the day. And even though I work near a big window with plenty of daylight, I find that the lamp makes a massive difference to the way that I feel. And I know many people don't get to choose where they work or their working environment in terms of furniture, windows, lighting, that kind of thing. I'm hoping that explaining these techniques, there's a few that you can try, maybe layer them together, or even if you just try one, hopefully you'll see an improvement in your work and focus, and also an improvement in the way you feel. I don't think the next technique is science-based. It's something that just happened naturally and it works well for me. I have a very short ritual which I do before I start work. I think the idea worked its way into my subconscious after reading the book The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. This is one of my favourite books. If you're a creative, I highly recommend it. In chapter 1, Pressfield writes about his pre-work ritual, some of which include lucky work boots, put on a name tag, a small ornament which he directs towards himself at the start of each day for inspiration, and then saying a prayer. For the last 6 months or so, I've got this small ritual that I do when I turn up at my desk. Mobile phone on its stand away from the desk. Cup of green tea, put desk in standing position, turn on daylight lamp, put on headphones and play Binaural Beats playlist on Spotify. Several generous sprays of my favourite perfume, which seems to trick my brain into knowing it's time to work. Resist the urge to check emails. Open the document that I'm working on or the video edit and get in the zone. This process seems to get me into my work pretty quickly, and it's only through making this video that I realise it involves almost all the senses: taste, vision, hearing and smell. And I believe that the 4 together work really well for me. I only use this perfume at my desk, so now associate the smell with work. And I'm not sure how I came to include it in my ritual, but I like it and it works. Often I'll have a spray in the afternoons too, just to give me a boost. A ritual doesn't need to be complicated, Just nice things that feel natural to motivate and inspire us. And it can be a good way to click the brain into action and to start work. This may not be suitable for some people because you may need your phone for work, but if you're wanting or needing to get into deep focus work, the mobile phone needs to be away from the desk and ideally on silent. I've been using this technique for 3 years now and it gets easier with practice. I leave my phone on its charging stand in the kitchen. It's only 5 metres away from my desk, but it's far enough to not cause a distraction. Messaging apps on your computer ought to be disabled too, because if you want to get into deep focus work, it needs to be undistracted. If you're allowed, turn off email and message notifications. Get away from the distractions of social media and other fun websites. Use an app like Freedom or block the websites in your computer settings to prevent temptation. Doing all this does take some discipline, but my goodness, it feels great once you've mastered it because you can complete your work and then you feel like a champ. Hooray! And all the messages, fun stuff and temptation will be there after. We can check our phone and luxuriate in web browsing once we've finished our work. Like with our eyes, the position of our body also plays a role in our energy and alertness. Think of it like this. Laying is associated with sleep. Sitting is often associated with resting. And standing is about being active and getting stuff done. So the position of our body relative to gravity is a bit like a spirit level. The angle of our body affects the neurons in the part of our brain called locus coeruleus, and standing makes these neurons more active, therefore increasing alertness. I've been experimenting with a standing desk since about 2021, and using a standing desk isn't about standing for the whole time. Instead, it's about doing both. Spend about 50% of the time standing and 50% sitting, changing between the two positions throughout the day. It's like Dr. Kelly Starrett says, we weren't designed to sit all day and we weren't designed to stand all day. I understand not everyone has the space, budget, circumstances or desire to have a standing desk, so there are some alternatives if you want to give it a try. There's these collapsible standing desk things. Using one of these is how I got started. Or these folding desk converter contraptions. They seem pretty good. Both of these pack away and don't take up much space. Or do what my mate Mark does and freestyle with existing furniture. This is my current desk setup. I use the FlexiSpot E7 Pro electric standing desk, and I've got a riser to lift my monitor up to eye height, and this desk has a cable management system at the bottom, which is a total dream. It's got 4 presets, which makes it easy to move from sitting to standing, and it has an anti-collision function, so if anything gets underneath then it automatically stops. I started out with the smaller E8 desk last year and I got on well with it, so that's when I upgraded to a bigger one, and now I've got my own house to rent with a dedicated office area, something that I have dreamed about for years. I've kitted the room out with FlexiSpot furniture. I've got this ergonomic chair, this wobbly stool thing, a camera kit cabinet that I've always wanted, dream, and this awesome reclining chair, which heats up and vibrates. If you're considering giving your work setup an upgrade, I've linked to FlexiSpot in the description along with their latest offer. It's common advice that we should take regular breaks throughout our working day, but with this next technique, it's about combining the breaks with a science-based technique. When taking a break, it's a good practice to increase our depth of vision by looking at something in the distance, using our panoramic view, looking at things on a broad scale rather than things close up. The break from work teamed with this change in vision, it can improve our alertness and our focus because it breaks the cycle of fatigue, giving an opportunity for a mini reset. It prevents eye strain from looking at things close up for a long period of time, and it decreases headaches and poor posture from being in the same position for a long time, all of which allow us to return to work a bit more refreshed. If you can take your break outside and extend your vision there, then that's great. Even better if you can be around some nature, disconnecting from work, even if only for a few minutes. I take my breaks in the front garden with Charlie. It can be hard to pull myself away from work sometimes, but but I always benefit from doing it. And it feels very different having my breaks outside rather than inside. I chuck on a pair of Vivo barefoot shoes, or even better, go outside barefoot. If you want to try Vivo barefoot shoes, I've added a really good discount code in the description. This practice of taking breaks and extending our vision is not only good for eye health, body health, but also good for brain health. And it's probably the only benefit and only healthy habit that smokers and vapers have. They take regular breaks from work and go outside. The irony. I'm interested to know, do you use any of these techniques already? Or perhaps you've got your own ones that you find effective in getting in the zone and staying focused? Please share them in the comments, as I know other people would love to read about them. As part of my ritual, I listen to binaural beats. It's a tip that I got from Huberman, and I was a bit unsure about using this technique at first because I'm really sensitive to noise and I like to work in total peace and quiet. However, after trying it, it seems to work well. Binaural beats isn't music, it's more just noise, 2 different frequencies that are played through each ear, and listening to them is ideally done through headphones. The frequency that's said to be good for memory, learning and focus is around 40 Hertz. The different frequencies coming in each ear generates brain waves and puts the forebrain into some kind of rhythm, which is good for mental tasks. It's quite bizarre. I thought binaural beats was a load of old rubbish when I first heard about it, but it turns out that it works well for me. And it's a bit like my perfume. I now associate the playlist with doing my work, and my brain knows that it's time to get stuff done when it hears that sound. I listen to binaural beats at the start of my work session, usually for about 45 minutes, and I don't really notice it. I find binaural beats helps get me in the zone, and then it keeps me locked in, and by the time I'm fed up with the noise, I'm well and truly in the zone. For these binaural beats, sometimes I use an app called Binaural. I can change the frequency, which is pretty cool. For work, I set it to around 40 Hertz, and then sometimes I use the delta function for getting good deep sleep. And then if I'm not using the app, then I use a Spotify playlist. I've linked both in the description. If you give them a try, make sure to use headphones so you get each frequency coming in through each ear, and then be sure to let me know how you get on with it. This next one is a big one, an important one, and one I can imagine can be challenging for some people, as in they have a lot of them and they find it hard to stop it from happening. Distractions and interruptions. If you need to or want to get into deep focus work, do what you need to do to prevent the distractions and interruptions. Wear big noise-cancelling headphones to block the world out and create a visual barrier for those who may want to disturb you. Use a sign on your desk, chair or door. Go and hide to work somewhere different where no one can find you. And get good at saying no when people want to disturb you. This isn't so much about the amount of time the interruption takes, but more about the amount of time it takes us to get back into the swing of work after. I'm not sure about you, but once I'm in the zone, I don't like to be disturbed. Probably because it took a lot of discipline and energy to get in there, and discipline and energy are 2 resources that I only have a certain amount of each day. This is about training ourselves to stay focused and that we need and deserve undistracted time to work. And this is also about training others to not disturb us whenever they want. Saying no can be hard to do. Well, it isn't for me, but with practice, it gets easier and soon people learn what your requirements are to get your work done. This one could make the biggest improvement to your focus and productivity over anything else I've spoken about already, and it's unbelievably simple. At the start of my workday, I say to myself with determination and vigour, just get on with it. We could have all these neuroscience hacks, all the fancy gear and equipment and the productivity systems. But for the big stuff, the stuff that drives us closer to our ultimate goal, we really just have to get on with it. That means not doing emails, not rewriting our list of things to do again, not reorganising our stationery drawer while we wait for the inspiration to hit us, or watch another video about how to do the thing. We just need to do the thing. I recently learned it takes about 6 minutes for us to get into a work task. I don't know why I haven't thought about it before. It's a bit like the gym. We don't just walk in and start working out hard. We warm up. Work and our brain is the same. know that the first 6 minutes of focus work will be a bit sticky, there'll be some resistance, and our brains will wander thinking about other stuff. But then, several minutes later, we're in it, and we're in the zone, and it feels good. My advice is start the day with the biggest task. Eat the frog. Focus on the one thing that will move you towards your ultimate goal, and just get on with it. If you're going to try any of these techniques, I've listed all 9 in the pinned comment, and I hope you get on well with them.